Hey guys, Fair 880 and welcome to another Hoovies. I pulled a Hoovie. I bought a Grand Cherokee. Why did I buy a Grand? Oh my gosh! Wait a second. Where's the DeLorean? It's all right. So for the subscribers, I did sell the DeLorean. I am sorry. Let's just say somebody had offered me a crazy offer. If you have seen any of my prior videos, I am almost about to get my pilot's license. I've got really far trying to become a commercial pilot. That would be the ultimate dream of mine. But I want to buy an airplane. I want to buy an airplane really bad, a Cessna 172 or a Cessna 182. I had to sell the DeLorean in order to fund that. I did perfectly fine. Let's just say that. In the meantime, I got bored. And this popped up on Marketplace. Now, if you know anything about Grand Cherokees, they're a course Chrysler product. You're going to run into a lot of problems with Grand Cherokees. But once all those problems are sorted out, these are really super cool SUVs. This is a 1994 Grand Cherokee Laredo with a lot of the options of the fully loaded limited. It's got the V8, it's got the all-time 4x4, and it's got leather seats. It's weird. It's almost a limited, but it's not. This popped up on Marketplace about 4 months ago for $1,600, but it needed a transmission, and a squirrel had got a hold of the wiring on the engine, and they didn't know if it had ran. It had ran before they parked it. The question was, how long ago did they park it? So I wasn't going to buy it because I figured transmission, $1,200-1,500 for a transmission. It's just not worth it. Hoovie, it's not worth it. Then he lowered the price, and then it kind of caught my attention. But it's a unique 1994. I think it's called teal something. It's a nice cool color. The 94s were really great. The 93s were beautiful, great running Jeeps with the AW4 transmission and the 4-liter. But the ones that came with the V8 and 94 on up, those are the ones that had bad transmissions. So I kind of already knew what I was kind of getting myself into. So me and Matthew went and visited the Jeep, and we made the guy an offer. He said no at first. We waited a few days. He called us back up and said, okay, I accept your offer. Come get it. Beautiful condition, 134,000, excuse me. It's got the all-time four-wheel drive. Crazy enough, it's got the leather seats in it, but it's got mildew on the headliner. We're gonna have to clean that up. The headliner's shot, but other than that, everything else, the steering wheel's shot, but the door panels are amazing condition. He does have the front drive shaft. Well, we'll have to unlock that later, but he does have the front drive shaft off. Funny enough, this one did not come with the trailer hitch. But yeah, let's get this back to the house and I'll show you underneath the hood and show you what we're up against. So we got the Jeep off the rollback and everything, and we started working on the engine wiring. Now theoretically there was about 15 to 20 wires that had been chewed throughout the entire engine compartment, which really wasn't too bad. And I had a new splice system that I had found on Amazon that popped up on Facebook that has helped out with other wiring projects that I've had. And that really, I mean, in about an hour we had everything pretty much repaired to try to start it. All right, there's the solder. Okay. Oh shoot. Let that dry real quick. All right, I think that's gonna work. Okay, so that's that done. We got the majority of the wires spliced here. We've got the majority of the wires spliced here except for this valve here. But then we just found a whole ton of wires down here. Oh my gosh, that looks really bad. But we're gonna try to start it real quick. Even though, and it probably is not gonna run because of those down there. We're gonna just hook this up real quick and just see what happens and see what we get. So here we go. Okay, ready?
The biggest cockroach you've ever seen just flew out.
What?
Big cockroach just went from out.
So what's that noise? I have no idea, and still to this day, I have no idea what that noise was. I don't know if that was a transmission. I don't know if that was a starter gear that was binding up. I don't know if that was the water pump or if that was the alternator or if something was stuck behind the radiator. To this day, we don't know what that noise was. But did y'all see that big cockroach that went by? All right, so obviously we're not having, the fuel pump's running, but I can't hear anything. As far as it's not getting any. Either that or the fuel injectors aren't working. Yeah, there's no fuel pressure. Dadgummit. What was that? So after getting it started on carburetor cleaner, we realized that we had an issue with getting fuel from the fuel tank to the engine. We had no fuel pressure on the fuel rail, and about 4 hours later, we realized that there was just no gas in the gas tank. And as soon as we put gas in the gas tank, the engine started running on 4 cylinders, and I believe that the fuel injectors were clogged up, and we started picking up cylinder after cylinder, and finally we had all 8 cylinders running about an hour later. 24 hours later, and a nice degreasing of the engine compartment, this is what we have. If you hear in this video, you can hear the noise still coming from the front of the engine. This is what we believe to either be an idler pulley, the alternator bearing, or later on we find out it is the water pump. Time to show you the bad transmission. It goes forward. But when you try to put it in reverse, all that noise is just hideous. Oh. So now comes to the next problem. What's the Jeep really worth? Pandemic has changed used car prices all over the place. A 97 Cherokee has doubled, tripled, almost quadrupled in price. But has the Grand Cherokees done that? Not really. I've got a bad transmission. I've got a bad water pump, and it needs new tires. The tires, We finally figured out that this Jeep has sat most likely since 2002, 2003. So those tires have most likely been on there since the late 90s. And when you drove it, it shook. There was radial belts and the tires were beyond shot. But the main thing was finding someone to rebuild the transmission. So I went to my local transmission shop. I've had several Grand Cherokees in the past, and they've always been the ones to rebuild my differentials. I really had one that had a transmission issue that they took care of, and I figured $1,500, right? No, the pandemic has changed everything. $3,000. Actually, their quote was $2,850, and another company quoted me $3,500 to rebuild the transmission on this Jeep. That Jeep's not worth that. What do? Do we pull the plug? Do we stop? This is where the Hoovy part comes in. What in the world did I get myself into? So that night I had found a younger kid that had opened up his own transmission shop in a town about 10 miles away about a year ago. And he's got excellent Google reviews. I sent him a message. He sent me a quote back of $1,500, providing it doesn't need any hard parts. Well, based upon that sound that you heard in the prior video, I guarantee you there's some parts that are going to have to be replaced. He ended up rebuilding the transmission, did a fantastic job, $1,700 for the transmission. This is good. Now it's time to go get some tires put on this Jeep. There's no tires at a reasonable price. The lowest tire that I could find was $130 a piece. So out the door, I'm looking at well over $550 just for 4 tires on this Jeep. Add that in with the transmission price, add that in with the price of the Jeep, and this project has just gone completely down the drain, monetary-wise. Luckily, Walmart was running a special on Goodyear Wrangler tires for this size for the Grand Cherokees for $88 a piece. So that, with a brand new battery, I walked out with about $516 of a bill. Still pretty darn expensive. So another problem that I was running into was when I bought the Jeep, the front drive shaft was sitting in the back of the Jeep. Now this was something that a lot of us used to do with our Grand Cherokees years ago, pull the front drive shaft out, because if you had the all-time wheel drive, the 249 transfer case, your Jeep would drive a lot better, and if you had a V8, you could screech the tires every once in a while when you floored it. But the question was, did the transfer case work? When he rebuilt the transmission, I didn't have him put the front drive shaft back on. I should have had him do it. But this is, since after leaving Walmart, this is the first time the Jeep actually drove at highway speed without the front drive shaft. The next question is, does the four-wheel drive system work? So a few hours later, me and Matthew got the front drive shaft on, and we went over to my friend's Roosevelt's, his farm, and got to take the Jeep off-road, off pavement road, and the four-wheel drive system worked perfectly fine. After getting the transmission rebuilt, after getting the four-wheel drive system working, after getting new tires, new radiator, new water pump, new pulleys, new belt, new alternator, all that stuff on the front, we got the AC vacuumed down, recharged, all that working, we got all the noises out of the Jeep, and I still hear a rattle coming from the back of the Jeep. Grand Cherokees are notorious for having bad catalytic converters, and that was on my budget. Okay, I need to get a new catalytic converter. The one in this one is original and it's rattling around, or is it? I made a video for another person, and as I was doing a walk around of the Jeep, I got a video of the underneath of the Jeep, and later that night when I was reviewing the video, I realized there is no converter. Somebody had already bypassed it years ago. The reason why there was a rattle in the back of the Jeep is whoever put it all back together shoved the tailpipe all the way against the gas tank metal plating for the shield, the muffler shield for the gas tank. Now, because this turned into a lot bigger project than I expected, we didn't video every single item, but we did kind of get a lot of the stuff that we had went through in the initial purchase of the Jeep and getting it started. So 3 or 4 weeks later, we have put a rebuilt transmission in. We have put new tires, new battery, new alternator, new, forget the hands, new water pump, new radiator, I probably already said that, new pulleys, new alternator, all shocks. We put new shocks in it, new sway bar links, new steering dampener. I did find a new old stock catalytic converter on eBay, an actual Mopar one, and just had that installed today. We have new headlights. We have new headlights, new turn signals, new marker lamps. I've got a grill that will be here in a couple of days, so the grill's going to be replaced as well. And, oops. Put a new windshield in, painted the windshield arms on the front and on the back, new windshield wiper blades. It's been purple powered about probably 4 or 5 times. New fender wells. These were dry rotted like you wouldn't believe. They just cracked in a million pieces when we brought it home. And luckily we found a junkyard about 10 miles away that has a couple of Grand Cherokees. So we put all new wheel well liners in, repainted them and everything. And we also took the roof racks off because these were rusted out really bad. We took these off, sanded them down, and repainted this. And let me tell you something. This thing has come a long way. What's the problem? Well, we pulled a Hoovie. I'm $6,000 into this Jeep right now, and I don't think it's worth it. I don't know. Now, my kid, 14 and a half, luckily in the state of South Carolina, they could start driving at 15. He is going to be needing a car soon. And I've had him turn a lot of wrenches while working on his Jeep. That's the good part. So it actually might end up turning into his car, his very first car, which is good. I don't know, I guess. He asked me, Dad, can I get a V8 for my first car? Here you go. Here's your first V8. So let me go ahead and show you around the Jeep with most of, if not all, the work completed. The only thing that I'm missing as of today of the filming is I am missing the new carpet that I ordered, a new stereo, and new speakers. And that's pretty much it. Let me show you around. So you can see the wiper arm that has been repainted. The gorgeous new headliner. All the entire upper interior has been scrubbed down thoroughly. Now, like I said, I have new carpet on order. And so the front cargo, or the front carpet and the rear carpet cargo area. And it's weird too. I've never seen a Grand Cherokee with this style leather seats before. Usually the Limited has a much more plush sofa style seats. So it used to have the Infinity faceplate. So there's the Infinity amp for the speakers. And since the original video from the very beginning, I have replaced the steering wheel with a much better conditioned steering wheel. And of course, here's another view of the headliners. And believe it or not, today I'm getting the sun visors. A new set of sun visors that I found on eBay are coming in. Let's see, underneath the hood, you can see the roof racks again, the new windshield, the windshield wiper arms that we've painted. So we have a new battery, new alternator, new belt, new idler pulley, new tension pulley. AC's been recharged. The wires have all been fixed. New idle AC motor. New water pump. New radiator. New headlights. New marker light turn signal. Same thing on the passenger side. And these gorgeous, expensive Goodyear tires. Here's the repair of the wiring. I'm actually going to go through this wire harness probably in a couple of days and just make it even with splicing these remaining 4 wires, and then this will be mounted back up onto the firewall. We got to splice some wires in this side, and we had to splice some wires way down there as well. All right, ready to hear it run? Ah, she runs so smooth and so much quieter. That water pump was so noisy. There is the new catalytic converter, the fixing of the original muffler, the front drive shaft, and the rebuilt transmission. This wasn't working. Apparently these burn out all the time. So even if you do find one in the junkyard, most likely it's got a burnt out electronic board. And you'll see in this next video I repaired it. If you have a 1993 through 95 Grand Cherokee and you have the VIC system and it shows your driver's door is open, but your driver's door isn't open and you wonder how in the world can you repair it. So this is that vehicle information center unit. And the 3rd pin in from the left goes underneath the board, underneath these resistors, and I think it's the 6th one, and then goes back underneath the board, comes up to where that blue wire is, but the trace is supposed to come underneath this capacitor right here, and there was a bad solder joint right there. It took me about 4 hours to kind of figure out the schematics without anything else, and then I was able to figure out I had a bad solder joint here, so I soldered this wire to here and the unit started working again. Only thing left is this one is out. It actually works, it's just very dim. It's got a couple of bad capacitors, but I found one of these in a junkyard. I'm supposed to get this in a couple of days, but other than that, everything works great. Let's get this radio out. You take for granted Bluetooth. And being able to stream your music. You think, oh cool, I have an aftermarket stereo. Well, it doesn't do you any good when your speakers are blown and when you can only put CDs in it and radio. Let me get this out real quick. Ooh, fancy. Doesn't do you a bit of good.
Your incredible support of his...
If you have no Bluetooth. It did have a CD changer in it at one time. Whoop-de-doo. All right, so you pull up here and then slide this to the side. All right, let's get this radio out. One of the problems that I was having with this radio install as well is all this spaghetti mess with the wiring. There's not enough room in the back here. So the new one does not have a CD player on it, so it's not as deep, and I'm going to clean up this wiring as well. So I bought a KMM BT328. This is a Bluetooth digital media receiver, and this was $99. It was on sale at AutoZone, which is the place that had the cheapest one. And I kind of like Kenwood. The stereo that was in the DeLorean was really good. And Kenwood speakers seem to hold up pretty well. So I've got 4 speakers on order that should be here in a couple days. I picked up the head unit today, so I'm gonna get this switched out and get this back in the Jeep. Look how small these are, simply because they don't need the added space for the CD player. they are a lot shorter. That's going to be really simple. That's a little better. I was able to find a bolt to fit that hole down there. There we go. Well, that's cool looking. Press volume knob to select language. All right, let me figure this thing out. Oh, I see. Okay, it's correct. Oh, yay. Let's get this grill taken care of. On mine, I only had 2 Phillips heads at this time. Oh, let me show you what's, we're gonna be replacing a compressor soon, but I noticed all this black goo and crap. Can you see the bubbles at all? See that? It's the Freon leaking out of the compressor, so hopefully in a day or so the new compressor will be in and we're going to be switching that out soon. But in the meantime, let's get this grill out. It's really simple. That's it. Hopefully that fits. All right, let me do some fitting real quick and then we'll bolt this up. Let's just say, don't get the one off of Amazon. Horrible fit, absolutely horrible fit. I had to grind behind the grill on the inside here, all in here. It's just really poorly designed. This was it looks great. It looks really good, but it took 2 hours to grind the excessive plastic and crap from this aftermarket knockoff grill. But once that's done, that looks much more factory-like. So now it has a pretty much complete new front end. While that happened, I actually found a replacement antenna mast for power antennas off of eBay, but unfortunately I did it off camera because so much stuff was going on. I had to take the outer sleeve of the antenna off, jerry rig it, and then now this is working. Yay! Now it doesn't go up exactly as the original one did, but that will give me radio, so I'm pretty happy with that. So now the new radio is installed. Off camera I installed new Kenwood speakers, and here's the antenna going down. So I'm pretty happy with that. And if you didn't notice, oh my gosh, did you seriously get new carpet? Oh yes, I did. Yes, I did. Where's the video at? Let's just say it took all day long to put this carpet in, but here, I'll show you a clip of what it looked like when we had all the seats out. My helper is still asleep inside, so I decided to come out and just start tearing the interior apart to get the carpet ready for replacement. And believe it or not, this took less than a half an hour to get everything out of here without breaking a single thing. So I apologize for not filming every step of the way, but you can see how nasty the carpet is. It's gotta go. And then when I get this front piece out, because it is separated right here from the rear cargo area, then I'll go ahead and start working on removing the back seats and the stuff back there. Such a huge, huge, huge difference the carpet made. I screwed up one bit right there. I cut it too short, so I had to put a couple of pieces in, and I cut it too short right there. I screwed up. Oh well. Here's the, and here. This wasn't too bad, but it still looks incredible compared to what it used to. Really super happy how everything turned out. This has made a huge difference. So that, along with the new headliner and thousands of other new parts, the steering wheel, the speakers, the stereo, I guess it's safe to say that for the most part, the interior is sort of done-ish. Remember the old wiper arm? Remember how I didn't have a cover right there? Why didn't I have a cover right there? Well, let's just say when I took it off, it just disintegrated because the plastic was so brittle. But lo and behold, Dorman makes a replacement wiper arm. You can get these at most auto parts stores. I got mine at O'Reilly's. I think it was 25 bucks. But I swear it's almost an exact replacement of the original. So that looks super cool. And I also put a new wiper motor in over the weekend as well. So much quieter. But wait, that's not all. Of course not. The rear brakes. Of course they had to start giving me problems. There was a kind of noise when you started using the brake, or when you used the brakes. Turned out the wheel cylinders were leaking really bad on both sides, and it was just nasty in the back. So we also replaced all the rear brakes and wheel cylinders over this past weekend. But that's still not all. There's another thing. Look at this video right here. Do you see the bubbles? Do you see the bubbles coming from the AC compressor? I believe I found out where all the Freon had went when we got the Jeep and the AC wasn't working. AC compressor apparently had a leak right there. So, yep, you got it. Ooh, look at that. Look at that. You know the sad thing about this? This was easier to change than this. Now, I saw, and I'm sorry I didn't video it. The reason why, there was so many things that we were trying to do to this Jeep over these past 3 or 4 days. One of the videos and a couple of the manuals had suggested draining the cooling system, removing this upper radiator hose, swinging it off to the side, and that way you can get the compressor out. And actually, you don't really have to even do that. All you do is you take out these 4 bolts and take out this back bolt, remove this bracket, take the belt off, remove the refrigerant lines, remove this bolt here, disconnect the connector, and you can take the compressor out through by just moving the coolant hose over just a little bit, and then just put it in reverse. This took 5 minutes to swap out versus this thing taking about 10 or 15 minutes. But that's not all. Remember, we also had an issue with the washer level sensor. These things apparently are kind of common for going bad on these older Grand Cherokees, but guess what? You can't find these anymore. These do not exist. So this is the old washer level sensor, and of course when the squirrel chewed the wiring and stuff in the engine compartment, he went to town on these sensors. You can find a few chew marks here. He also went to town on the coolant level sensor, but luckily this is working perfectly fine. And throughout the engine compartment, you can see where the squirrel went to town as well. The problem is, if this shows a complete open circuit, then it shows a washer sensor error on the vehicle information center. If this is working, when it's empty, it's a closed circuit, and when it's full, it shows a resistance of like 320 ohms or something like that. But anytime it shows a faulty circuit, it shows that error. But these don't exist. So how in the world do I have a new one? I've been trying to find this sensor since the day that I got that vehicle information center unit working in the Jeep. Turns out you can find the coolant level sensor. All the auto parts stores can order them, but you can't find this. Oddly enough, did you see what I saw? Do you notice anything different between this sensor and that sensor? They're both chewed up. Yes, I see that. They look pretty identical to me. That's right. This is the washer sensing level, or washer level sensor, and this is the coolant level sensor. What's the difference? That tank is deeper than that tank, which means these sensors are pretty much the same, and the only difference is one has a longer float. So what did I do? Since the coolant sensor is still available at O'Reilly's, I got a new coolant sensor. I was able to very easily pry the old float off by these little tabs right here. Pry the float off of the old sensor, stick it on the new sensor, and now we have a perfectly working washer level sensor and no error on the vehicle information center. So according to Siri, it's been 1 month and 1 week ago since I got this Jeep. This Jeep's gonna end up killing me. I have enjoyed working on it. It is, forget budget, because I believe we're about $6,300 in this Jeep so far. Now, I have had a lot of compliments on this Jeep everywhere we go, even though it is a 1994 and theoretically it's old. Hoovy old. But it looks so nice, and you know, it is a lot of fun to drive. And I've been driving it, I mean, that's how I find out if stuff breaks, is just simply going and driving it to flight school and to the lake and back to all my filmings. There's a few small minor things that still need to be done, and then it will be officially complete until the next thing breaks. But until then, guys, girls, I hope you've enjoyed. I didn't record every single second of what I've done to this Jeep, and this is gonna probably be a short series, probably maybe 2 or 3 videos in. But we couldn't keep the camera out the entire time while we were working on this thing because this video would be 3, 4, 5 hours long. This thing took a lot of work. Did it take more than the Fiero? It's a lot bigger than the Fiero, so in a sense it has a lot more work has gone into this in a short amount of time versus to the Fiero. I do miss the DeLorean and stuff, but I am this close to having a private pilot's license, so that is a dream come true, not to mention possibly an airplane in the future. Guys and girls, thanks again for watching my videos. Click subscribe or like around here, and hopefully we will see you soon.